Hi, welcome to today's program. This is part of our Summer Reading Club 2021 Tales and Tales. For more information about Summer Reading Club, you can visit us at faylib.org/src. Today's program is part of our Teen Cuisine series, which is a fun way to learn nutritious and delicious recipes while building your confidence in the kitchen. Today we're going to be making tortillas, which are super simple, and pairing it with some strawberry salsa. For the tortillas, all you need is flour, baking powder, salt, oil, and warm water. Before you begin, make sure that you wash your hands, follow best practices, go ahead and get your hands wet, use soap and scrub between your fingers, underneath your fingernails for about 15 to 20 seconds. Rinse your hands really well and dry your hands thoroughly before you get started. Then you're ready to make tortillas. So the first thing that we're going to do is use our flour, our baking powder, and salt. These are called dry ingredients. All right, so let's get our 3 cups of flour to get started. So remember when you're measuring your flour that you just want it right at the top. If you want to use a knife, you can use that to make it level. You don't want to use more flour because then you'll get dry really hard to knead tortillas. Got 1 scoop. 2 and 3 cups of flour. Then I'm going to use a teaspoon of both baking powder and salt. The baking powder is going to help the tortillas be kind of light and airy. My cheater jar of salt, much easier to scoop. All right, so now I have all of my dry ingredients in the bowl, and I'm gonna go ahead and mix it up. It just needs a couple of turns, and then you're ready to make a well. A well is kind of like just a little hole in the middle. That's where we're gonna be placing our wet ingredients. So it just looks kind of like this. Got my little well right here. Then I can go ahead and pour in my wet ingredients, which are just my 1 cup of warm water. And then I'm going to use a 1/3 cup of oil. And this recipe is really forgiving, so you can use olive oil, vegetable oil, canola oil, even avocado oil or coconut oil if you have it. But again, you just want to make sure to use a 1/3 of a cup. Then you're ready to go ahead and mix that. You want to start in the center and then just kind of slowly incorporate your flour. And then keep going. Might take a minute. As the mixture starts coming together, it's going to be harder to mix, and it's going to start getting a little bit chunkier as you work. And that's okay, that's good. When it kind of gets about this consistency, make sure you scrape off some of that dough from the spoon. You're about ready to knead this. So you can start kneading in the bowl to kind of make sure you get it all incorporated together. Just give it some good squeezes. But we're gonna put it on the counter in just a moment and just knead it. You might need a little bit more flour on your surface. But you don't wanna add too much. Too much flour and your dough will get, like I said, a little bit difficult to use. So lots of people have different techniques for kneading. You can do it however you want. I like to kind of just push it down into the counter and turn it as I do it. You're gonna do this for about 1 minute to 2 minutes. You'll know when it's ready because it'll be all nice and smooth. It won't be dry and it's not gonna be very sticky. You'll know your dough is ready when it comes all together. Like I said, it's not gonna be too sticky, but it's not gonna be dry and cracking or anything like that. The next step, we're gonna break this ball down into individual portion size. So we're gonna turn this into 16 smaller balls. So what I like to do is just use halves. So if I take this, I'm gonna cut it in half. So I have 2 pieces, right? Each of these halves, I'm gonna cut into half again. And now I have 4 pieces. You get the idea, right? So we're gonna do this. I'm gonna turn 4 pieces into 8 pieces. And then I can finally turn 8 pieces into 16. Right, now with each little piece, I'm going to go ahead and kind of roll it into a ball. I'm going to go ahead and then flatten it down so it looks like a small disc. And then I'm going to set it off to the side. When they're all shaped like that, we're going to let them rest for about 15 minutes. If you actually need to take a longer break, you can let it set like that for up to 2 hours on the counter before you get to the fun part of cooking them. When you're finished preparing the dough, you can just go ahead and cover them for, like I said, anywhere from 15 minutes to 2 hours. Once you've let your dough rest, you're ready to roll it out and cook it. So you're going to want to make sure you have some flour on hand to lightly flour your surface and to lightly flour your rolling pin. You just want a little flour. If you get too much flour on it, they're still going to cook, but when you eat them, they're going to have flour on them. So it's not going to taste as great. So when you take one of your pieces of dough, you can go ahead and kind of flip it over once or twice. Make sure that flour is there and roll it out. You're going to try to roll it out to about a 6 to 7 inch diameter circle, starting from the middle and working towards the edges. It doesn't have to be perfect. I think tortillas taste good no matter what, but you do want to try to hit that 6 to 7 inches in diameter just so that the tortilla is thin enough so that it cooks all the way through when it's on the stove. Now, you can make these one at a time, like just roll out one tortilla and then cook it and then roll out your second one. But if you prefer to roll all your tortillas out at the same time, just make sure that you stack them utilizing something like parchment paper between them. Otherwise, your tortillas will stick together and you are not going to have tortillas today. Whenever you're ready to actually cook your tortillas, whether you've decided to roll out all 16 at the same time or you just want to do it individually, make sure that you turn your stove on to about a medium-high heat and wait until your pan gets hot. So we're almost ready to actually bake our tortillas or cook them on the stove. And so you're going to need to use the right pan. What is the right pan? Luckily, almost any pan works. The best one to use is probably a stainless steel or metal saute pan. And these are great pans because they are pretty shallow and they have that curved edge. So you're going to be able to scoop that tortilla out really easily. So you might want to use tongs or you'll want to use a spatula, whichever one you have on hand. If you don't have one of these saute pans, you might have a cast iron pan. This is a 10-inch one. These are great. They get nice and hot uniformly, so you'll have a great cook. When your pan is hot, you can go ahead and put your tortilla down on it. You're going to cook it for about 45 seconds to a minute. You can use the timer on your iPhone or just set a timer. You'll know that it's done because when you flip it, you're going to get some brown spots and you'll see the bubbles start to form. When you flip it over, do you see that it's got some nice brown on that side? And then the back side, you'll again want to do it for about another 30 seconds to a minute, depending on how hot your pan is. If you're going to get really dark brown spots, you know your pan is too hot. And if you don't see any brown spots, then your pan is not hot enough. When your tortilla is finished, you can put it on your plate and eat it right away. Or if you want to make the other 15, go ahead and put your tortilla in a container that has a lid so that it can stay nice and warm. Now that we've made our tortillas, we're ready to make some salsa to go with it. But we thought it would be great to make some summer salsa, so we're going to make a strawberry salsa. You're going to need strawberries, tomatoes, lime, cilantro, a red onion, and a pinch of salt. For this recipe, we're going to use about 2 cups of strawberries. You're going to want to make sure that you chop everything in this recipe pretty finely so you have small pieces because it's salsa. If you like a chunkier salsa, make your pieces bigger. I always cut the ends off, the tops off first because I don't like to eat the green part. I guess if you like to eat the green part, you can. Now you're ready to cut your tomato. You only need 1 tomato here. So you'll also chop that up pretty finely. Might want to take out that top part. No one wants to eat that. All right, after you cut your tomato, you can go ahead and cut your onion. You actually only need 1/4 of this onion. Now you're ready to cut up your cilantro. You need about 1/4 cup. After you put the cilantro in, you're ready to put in some lime. You're gonna go ahead and cut it in half, and then you can just put half this juice in. Sometimes people like to just go ahead and squeeze it. If you have a juicer, you can go ahead and juice it, or some people use a fork. Now you're just ready for the last ingredient, which is a pinch of salt. So this is to taste. Mix that up, and you're ready to serve it with your tortillas. Now you're ready to enjoy this delicious snack. If you happen to have leftovers, you can store the tortillas for about 24 hours at room temperature in an airtight container, or you can put them in the fridge for up to a week. Thank you so much for joining this Teen Cuisine program. Be sure to check out our next one coming out in July, and we should have some in the fall as well. If you'd like more summer reading club content, check us out online. Bye.